Beloveds, within the depth of your womb is the wisdom. It is the truth. Ascension is this upward motion, and it is most definitely something we all want to experience, this upward motion, this sense and feeling that we are entering the heavens and feeling those heavenly realms. We want to bring down the heavenly realms, bring down the juices. This is the descent. So let's not ignore the fact that we are a toroidal field. What do I mean by that? This body here, we're actually in a core channel of energy that comes out and around and back in again. Up and around and back in again. You can feel it with certain breathwork techniques that we do, where we can draw in that energy up and down and around to circulate our energy, circulate the chi, the life force. And so I want to remind you of this, because I feel that this is why so many people actually want to leave spiritual communities and new age concepts, because there's a lot of focus on this upward ascension and they feel fragmented from the reality that we all see and experience here, what's going on in the world, how they relate to their friends, their family, and these spiritual concepts and practices that are very uplifting. And there has been this sort of idea of wanting to ascend and reach these certain heights, which then takes us away from certain human emotional responses and feelings and expressions in this world, right? They think that that's gonna null and disappear, right? We've all been there, and maybe you're still thinking that, maybe unsure about that, feeling unsettled about that right now. And so I just want to remind you, wherever you are on that journey, on that spiral of awareness, is that to fall from that height because these emotions, these lower perceived emotions, feeling trapped. It feels like they're coming back. They keep pulling yourself back, like you're on an elastic band and you're being slapped back into those feelings. And if we actually learn to live on the spiral, we actually learn to also move with ease through our toroidal field, we are less likely to feel as though we're being slapped back, because we are more accepting and understanding and compassionate to those parts of ourselves that express those emotions that maybe are more difficult, more challenging, or maybe perceived as more lower vibrational, right? Then the joy, the love, the expansion, because we can also feel grief and love and expansion and sadness all at the same time, right? Have you ever gone through that kind of emotion where, maybe this is a really, hard one, but sometimes when we lose somebody in our lives, they pass through the veil to the other worlds, but they've been suffering for a long time. I don't know if you've ever felt that, like that kind of, you're so sad and in grief and mourning for that person that you want in your life and you want them so much. But at the same time, there's this relief for them, this joy for them that they get to now move away from that suffering that felt unending in their last years, and you didn't see them in that way that you know them to truly be, right? So you wanted that relief for them, even though it's difficult. It could also be when you are, having a child who's going to university, right? Oh my gosh, they're going to go and move to another part of the country, maybe even to another country altogether for their studies. Maybe your child's even grown up and moving up to abroad. They've met someone traveling. there's a lot of grief and sadness there as a parent, because you want to have your children in that cute little way when you were together, but you also want to celebrate them because they're starting a new chapter, they're growing up, you're proud, and you're like, wow, yes, I want that for them, right? That you couldn't then think, if you was on an ascension path, and think, I can't be feeling this sad and grief, I should only feel expansion and love for them. No, because we are dancing on this spectrum of emotion. We're allowing the two to interplay with one another, and the less we shame either or, the more we allow ourselves to move through it. It gets to have space in our lives, and actually then doorways open up, right, to more awareness, more expansion of the self, because we haven't suppressed the suppression, the suspense. And this is what we're even seeing in the collective. So much has been suppressed, hidden from the masses. And so it's like coming up like a volcano, because it cannot be hidden. We cannot hide these things. So it's going to feel like we're going more like on an elastic band in some parts of, the human collective experience. And I think, and I believe the more that we do the work on ourselves and start to have inner dialogue, somatic awareness and expression, to release and to understand our spectrum of emotions, of feelings, of experience as a human, we actually allow more of our soul to embody, and for there to be a regulation of that is healthy. And then that is a blueprint for the collective, so that we can start to learn how to hold all of it, to move through all of it in a healthy way. And so that these things don't become hidden, they don't become explosive, right? Because oftentimes we find that we can get up with these explosive experiences even in our lives, maybe even to the small things, say going back to the parent that has let their child go off to uni, but they don't want them to know that they're in grief, and they're trying to be expansive and happy for them, and they just hide their grief from them, right? What will happen? Then the child's spending all this time away, thinks the parent's just totally accepting, they're not really checking in with them, and the parent suddenly, when they finally come home, they explode at them. Maybe they're even just being nitty gritty, like little comments about how they're not doing this, they haven't done this, and just being passive aggressive because they're trying to hide. But then it's getting to this point where then it's like all these little passive aggressive things start coming up, or they just explode and have an argument with them, and the child's just like, whoa, like I thought you was happy for me that I was away and doing all this stuff, like I didn't know that you was bothered. Maybe if you just spoke to it, he said, I love you, I'm accepting you going, but I just want you to know I'm feeling a lot of grief because I miss us having a little bit more of a chat. Could we have a chat once a week? You're not putting too much demand, you're not being an overbearing parent, but you are ensuring that those needs are being met, and there's that time and integration. And maybe you'd even take yourself through your own little grief ceremony and really allow yourself to feel it, however that wants to play out. But we need to have those tools, which so often in society it's not there for everyone to feel that, to experience that. If we was in a workplace, certain things wouldn't be appropriate. Maybe partners and friends, if they're not as emotionally available or open, they're aware of their spaces to talk about. Well, again, this is why for myself I like to hold sessions where we get to move through these emotions, where we get to explore what is hidden underneath, so that we can start to unravel that, to open ourselves to the awareness, so we can be like animals, when the animal gets a bit frustrated, the dog, and it just shakes it out. Same with cats, all their hair goes up on end and they kind of feel tense for a while, and they kind of just move it out of their body, and then it's all settled and it's gone. It doesn't get trapped in that nervous system, because as soon as it gets trapped in the nervous system, that's energy trapped, it's trapped in our chakras, and we want that energy to flow, because that's our life force, that's our creative energy. And the more we allow everything else to flow, right? The more that we allow those emotions, the emotions that maybe we don't want to feel, if we let them through to feel, we get more of that expansion, authentic expansion, expansive, authentic joy, authentic bliss, because that is just naturally able to flow through our bodies, through our being, and it will just emanate out from us. So I'd love to hear from you. What do you find most expansive at the moment for you in your self-expression, and how do you move through things? And if you want to have a go at this yourself, then check the link below where I have the Voice of the Heart practice, and it's an amazing practice to tune into the sensations and the feeling that wants to move through you, working with particularly the heart in this case, but there's so many other ways that we can do this, and that's something that, yes, I offer in the session. So if you want to go right ahead with that, then book a call and let's see where this goes.